Welcome back to Capitol Review. President Trump is warning Iranian negotiators to get serious before it's too late after Tehran dismissed administration's 15-point ceasefire plan. The president insists that the military operations are ahead of schedule. In his first cabinet meeting since the start of Operation Epic Furry, President Trump says it's Iran, not the U.S., looking to make a deal. The president says a show of good faith, Iran allowed some oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. Meantime, Democratic lawmakers are growing frustrated. 4 weeks into the war, yet still have not had a public hearing.
They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there, we're going to let you have 8 boats of oil, 8 boats, 8 big boats of oil.
There was no imminent threat. I have seen all of the intelligence.
President Trump has extended his deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz to April 6th. Joining us now is Republican strategist Colin Reed, who is a principal at D.C.-based Southern Hill. Colin, welcome back to Capitol Review.
Hey, Mark. Happy Cherry Blossom weekend.
Indeed it is. You know, we're obviously, Colin, several weeks into the war in Iran. How would you assess where things stand right now?
Well, militarily, it's been a smashing success. Iran's Navy has been destroyed, their missiles have been destroyed, their drones have been destroyed, and more importantly, their ability to rebuild any of those elements which they're needed to gain the nuclear weapon, which is what the purpose of this mission was, has been utterly just decimated. And that's a great thing. Of course, there's a long way to go. I would say right now, maybe we're at the 20-yard line, but as any football fan knows, sometimes those last 20 yards are the hardest to get.
Colin, obviously, nobody wants to see boots on the ground. Do you think the president can achieve his objective without having to do that?
Well, that's the big question, and there's reports circulating that potentially there will be some boots on the ground, and I think that's where rubber will really meet the road. But the president's been pretty clear that he views this as a detour, not a long-term intervention, and that's something that he's got a lot on his plate right now, and he's got many competing challenges, and he's got a midterm election a few months away. So hopefully this thing wraps up quickly, and hopefully he does so in a successful way, and hopefully the president can get back to the things that he wanted to really focus on in his second term.
Colin, former counterterrorism chief Joe Kent resigned. He has been a strong supporter of the president over the years, and he says that Iran did not pose an imminent threat to the U.S. Is that a bad look for the administration?
Well, it's an unfortunate, regrettable incident, and anyone who serves in government and wants to leave and disagrees with their boss has the right to do so, but usually do so in a more private manner, that is. But look, by and large, the president's supporters and the people who voted for him, they're with him. Where he needs to be focused on is those independents in the middle, because the Democrats right now, they're opposed to everything he does. You know, he could walk on water right now and they would say he couldn't swim. And so what he needs to focus on is keeping those people in the middle who tend to determine these elections on his team, on board, and understand that this mission is limited and it's going to have a very clear objective and is hopefully going to wrap up very soon.
Well, Colin, the president faces a big challenge moving forward. As you know, the polling shows that most Americans don't support our involvement in Iran. I mean, how should he move forward?
He needs to explain to people that the Iranian regime is something that's been around since 1979. It's been terrorizing the United States, our allies, the region, and the world since the Carter administration. And it's been there as a threat. It's been inflicting untold terror. It's someone who's horrific to its own people. It puts people to death. It hangs people. This is not anyone's friend. This is not anyone should feel badly for this. And frankly, Mark, it's been really interesting when the United States killed Osama bin Laden, there was this great celebration. There was this great rush to everybody was celebrating and relishing the moment. It didn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. It happened under Barack Obama. Everybody went down to the White House and celebrated. And right now, I think there needs to be more of you can disagree with the president, disagree with what he's doing, and that's fine, but support the overall idea of getting rid of this horrific terrorist regime that's been just in the Middle East and inflicting untold terror for so long.
Colin, quickly, what is a realistic ending, or in your eyes, what is the finish line in our involvement in Iran?
2 ways. Real simple, Mark. Iran is decimated or Iran surrenders. That's how it goes. And those are the choices before them. And they'll ultimately have tough decisions to make. But that's how this thing ends, and hopefully it happens sooner rather than later.
Colin Reed, thank you so very much for joining us.